Boleh. Tak ada. Ada. Ustaz pergi syarat dia pilih lagi. Aku nak guna air je. Kau kena guna air. Sayang. Sayang. Adam, cute. Dia boleh dia.
Gemersik gamelan kian bergema, tibanya tamu di Dewan Utama mengumumkan ketibaan tetamu-tetamu kehormat masuk ke dalam Dewan.
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. يا نبي سلام عليك، يا رسول سلام عليك، يا حبيب سلام عليك، صلوات الله عليك، صلى الله على محمد، صلى الله عليه وسلم، صلى
نسألك يا من هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الرحمن الرحيم الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر الخالق البارئ المصور الغفار القهار الوهاب الرزاق الفتاح العليم القابض الباسط الخافض الرافع المعز المذل السميع البصير الحكم اللطيف الخبير الحليم العظيم الغفور الشكور العلي الكبير الحفيظ المقيم الحسيب الجليل الكريم الرقيب المجيب الواسع الحكيم الودود المجيد الباعث الشهيد الحق الوكيل القوي المتين الولي الحميد المحسن المبدع المعيد المحيي المميت الحي القيوم الواجد الماجد الواحد الصمد القادر المقتدر المقدم المؤخر الأول الآخر الظاهر الباطن الوالي المتعالي البار التواب المنتقم العفو الرؤوف مالك الملك ذو الجلال والإكرام المقسط الجامع الغني المغني المانع الضار النافع النور الهادي البديع الباقي الوارث الرشيد الصبور الذي ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير اللهم صل أفضل الصلاة على أسعد المخلوقات كسيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم عدد معلوماتك ومداد كلماتك كلما ذكرك ذاكرون وغفل عن ذكره الغافلون.
Hadirin dipersilakan duduk. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. Bunga digubah buat sidara gubahan ditatang ketika bersua. Salam sembah pembuka bicara selamat datang kepada semua. Yang berbahagia Puan Haji Asilah binti Osman, Pengarah Institut Pendidikan Guru Kampus Bahasa Melayu. Yang berbahagia Profesor Dr. Rasmi binti Abdullah, Profesor Kehormat Universiti Sains Malaysia, Ketua Eksekutif Kolej Teknologi Darul Naim, Cawangan, Kuala Lumpur. Yang berusaha Puan Sarah El-Awaisi, Setiausaha Academy for Islamic Jerusalem Study ISRA, United Kingdom. Yang berusaha Puan Ubaidah Muhammad, Wakil Biro Haluan Palestin. Yang berusaha Encik Muhammad Lutfi bin Ahmad, Ketua Jabatan Pendidikan Islam dan Moral, Institut Pendidikan Guru Kampus Bahasa Melayu, Ketua-Ketua Jabatan, Ketua-Ketua Unit, para pensyarah ahli jawatan kuasa pelaksana, para pelajar serta hadirin yang dimuliakan. Selamat datang ke majlis Bicara Intelektual Dunia Islam. Alhamdulillah, bersyukur kita kehadrat ilahi kerana dengan izin dan limpah kurnianya dapat kita bersama-sama berkumpul di Dewan yang bersejarah ini dalam majlis ilmu yang gemilang dan bermakna buat kita pada hari ini. Terlebih dahulu bagi pihak jawatan kuasa penganjur, kami mengambil kesempatan untuk mengalu-alukan dan mengucapkan selamat datang khusus kepada tetamu jemputan iaitu yang berbahagia Profesor Dr. Rasmi binti Abdullah dan yang berusaha Puan Sarah El-Awaisi serta hadirin sekalian ke majlis Bicara Intelektual Dunia Islam pada hari ini.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are delighted to welcome everyone to the intellectual discourse of the Islamic world, human rights and contemporary issues of the Islamic world.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin, alladhi wahabana nurul ilmi wal hikmah, wa nasta'idhu bihi min zulumatil jahli, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba' أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بكم في الحديث الفكري للعالم الإسلامي. نشكره ونحمده حيث أنه من لنا هذه الفرصة الذهبية لاجتماع معا في اللقاءات التاريخية في هذا اليوم.
Hadirin, cerah bulan di simpang 4 sinaran kejora di malam pekat, tangan diangkat jadi dirapat, panjatkan doa memohon berkat. Sebelum majlis diteruskan, marilah kita bersama-sama menadah tangan memohon keberkatan kehadrat ilahi agar majlis kita pada hari ini sentiasa berada di bawah lembayung rahmatnya. Dengan itu, majlis mempersilakan Saudara Ishak Burhanuddin bin Ahmad untuk memimpin bacaan doa. Dipersilakan.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let's seek the blessing from the Almighty by welcoming Ishaq Burhanuddin bin Ahmad to lead the recitation of prayer.
تبركا لهذه الجلسة هيا معا نؤمن الدعاء الذي سيدعو لنا الأخ إسحاق برهان الدين بن أحمد فليتفضل مشكورا.
Cuba suara. Al-Fatihah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin. Wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Ya Allah, ya Tuhan kami ingin merafakkan kesyukuran kepadamu atas pertemuan kami pada hari ini. Jadikanlah kami hamba-hambamu ini sentiasa bersyukur terhadap rezeki dan kurniaanmu. Sesungguhnya engkaulah Tuhan yang maha memberi. Ya Allah, ya Rahman, ya Rahim. Kami berhimpun hari ini untuk mencairkan majlis bicara intelektual dunia Islam. Maka permudahkanlah majlis ini ya Allah supaya berjalan dengan lancar. Kami ingin menimba ilmu sebanyak mungkin supaya kami mampu mengembangkan potensi kami sehingga menjadi hamba-Mu yang Engkau redai. Ya Allah, kurniakanlah ilmu kepada kami. Sinarilah hati-hati kami dengan hidayah-Mu. Sesungguhnya Engkaulah Tuhan yang maha mendengar lagi maha mengetahui. Ya Dzal Jalali wal Ikram, hadiahkanlah kepada kami kesihatan badan, kecerdasan minda, ketenangan jiwa dan kekuatan semangat. Kami memohon kepada Engkau ya Allah, bantulah kami dalam menghadapi segala cabaran. Ringanilah beban kami, sesungguhnya Engkaulah yang maha berkuasa. Allahumma ja'al jam'ana hadza jam'an marhuma wa tafarruqana min ba'dihi tafarruqan ma'suma. ولا تجعل اللهم فينا ولا معنا ولا ما يجمعنا شقيا ولا مطرودا ولا محروما. اللهم انصر إخواننا المسلمين المجاهدين في فلسطين. اللهم ثبت إيمانهم وأنزل السكينة على قلوبهم وحدد صفوفهم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Terima kasih diucapkan kepada saudara Ishaq Burhanuddin atas bacaan doa sebentar tadi.
Thank you, Ishaq Burhanuddin bin Ahmad.
آمين آمين يا رب العالمين. المجلس يعرب عن فائق تقديره للأخ إسحاق برهان الدين بن أحمد على قراءة الدعاء منذ قليل.
Dari Pahang membawa diri berbekal tradisi, ucapan perasmian mohon diberi, marilah sama kita hayati. Bagi meneruskan agenda pada hari ini, majlis dengan berbesar hati mempersilakan yang berbahagia Puan Hajah Nur Asilah binti Osman, Pengarah Institut Pendidikan Guru Kampus Bahasa Melayu untuk menyampaikan bicara ilmu dan seterusnya merasmikan majlis bicara intelektual dunia Islam. Dengan segala hormatnya dipersilakan.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to welcome the respectable Madam Hajah Nur Asilah binti Osman, the Director of IPG Bahasa Melayu Campus, to give her inaugural speech to mark the opening of this intellectual discourse.
والآن حان موعدنا لنستمع معا إلى كلمات الافتتاحية لافتتاح حديث الفكري للعالم الإسلامي من المحترمة سيدة حجة نور أصيلة بنت عثمان رئيسة معهد تربية فرع اللغة الملايوية. فلتتفضل مأجورة.
Terima kasih saudara dan saudari pengacara majlis. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and hello to everyone. Warmest welcome to our guest speaker, Ms. Sarah El-Awaisi, Secretary of Islamic Jerusalem Studies Academy, ISRA-UK, Professor Dr. Rasmi Abdullah, the Chief Executive Officer of College Technology Darul Naim Kuala Lumpur, Puan Hajah Ubaidah Mohammed from HALUAN Malaysia, Tuan Haji Muhammad Lutfi Ahmad, Head of Department of Islamic and Moral Studies, Institute of Teacher Education, Malay Language Campus, dedicated lecturers, students, working committee from Group A, June 2022 intake, and lastly, to all my beloved students. It's wonderful to have the opportunity to gather here today. I feel privileged, as this shows how much we care about our community and its growth. Firstly, a big thank you goes to HALUAN Malaysia for joining hands with IPG Kampus Bahasa Melayu. This sharing session, inshallah, will be an excellent chance of growth for our students who are future teachers. They get to learn from experts and gain knowledge that they won't find in regular textbooks. HALUAN Malaysia involves a collaboration on paper. It's a coming together of hearts and minds with a shared vision. Both HALUAN Malaysia and IPGKBM understand the importance of nurturing young souls with correct guidance and authentic knowledge. It is through such partnerships that we stand firm against the waves of misinformation and disinformation. We're indeed facing a world that comes with trials and tribulations. However, our efforts here are not knowledge. We are focusing on real-world issues that are vital for all of us today. Think about topics and problems faced in Palestine and the challenge of Islamophobia. It is important for our students and indeed for all of us, educators, to understand these topics deeply. This way, we can be better equipped to make positive changes to the people around us. When we talk about education, it's not just about scoring marks or remembering facts. It's about understanding values like respect, kindness, and empathy. Whether we are discussing history, science, or current events, we should always approach these subjects with a heart full of care, compassion, especially for us as Muslims. Now, taking a moment to reflect on a broader landscape, it's clear how valuable gatherings like these are. In a world where information is everywhere, it is the right information from credible sources that makes all the difference. That's what we aim to offer our students, not just data, but knowledge, wisdom, and insight. Knowledge is powerful. It shapes the way we think, the way we act, and the way we relate to the world around us. By ensuring our students are well informed, we are not just enhancing their academic prospects, but their entire life journey. We're preparing them to survive in a VUCA world, a world of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. The role of a teacher or any educator is not just to instruct, but to inspire. We want to guide our students to be not just smart, but also good-hearted. Our main goal is to instill in them the values that will make them kind, compassionate, and responsible individuals. In a world that is constantly changing and norms being adapted to the advancement of disruptive technologies, we have but to embrace change. As individuals, we can achieve much. Together, as a united community, our potential is limitless. We can change narratives, uplift spirits, and most importantly, make meaningful differences in the world. I often think about the legacy we are leaving behind for the next generations. Are we doing enough? Are we laying down the right foundations? Meeting like this, where we actively engage and strive for more, reassure me. They give me hope that we are on the right path. On the topic of paths, the journey of an educator is not a simple one. It's filled with challenges and responsibilities. But it's gatherings like this that refill our tanks, reignite our passion, and remind us all the importance of our roles. And for our students, this is a unique opportunity to network, to learn, and to engage with different viewpoints. Today, as we share and listen, let us remember the power of understanding. When we open our minds to different ideas and views, we grow stronger as a community and as individuals. Every talk, every discussion we have today is a step forward or towards a better future. So let's dive in, eager to learn and ready to understand. I want to send out a special appreciation to our hardworking lecturers, the Students' Working Committee of Group A, June 2022 intake, and enthusiastic future teachers here. The effort and time you put into today's program are truly commendable. Without your dedication, gatherings like this would be impossible. Let's also ensure that the seeds planted today don't just remain as memories. Let us water them, nurture them, and watch them grow into towering trees of knowledge and wisdom. Each one of us here hold the power to make that happen. To end on a note of gratitude, I'd like to extend my heartfelt thanks to each one of you for being here. It's your presence, your involvement, and your dedication that makes events like this successful. Let us move forward, hand in hand, towards a more informed, united, and prosperous future. In closing, thank you all for coming today. I pray that today's event leaves a lasting impression on all of us, guiding us towards a brighter future. May Allah bless us on our gathering today, and may He guide and protect us all in our journey ahead. With pronunciation of Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I therefore open the Bicara Intelektual Dunia Islam Road to Baitul Maqdis. Thank you.
Terima kasih diucapkan kepada yang berbahagia Puan Haji Nur Asilah binti Osman atas ucapan dan perasmian sebentar tadi.
Thank you, the respectable Madam Hajah Nur Asilah binti Osman for the inaugural speech.
Yu'ribul majlis an syukrihi lil muhtaramah Sayyidah Hajah Nur Asilah bint Osman, Raisah Ma'had Tarbiyah Al-Mu'allimin Far'i Al-Lughatu Al-Malayuwiyah di Kuala Lumpur ala ilqa'i kalimat al-iftitahiyah.
Hadirin, majlis diteruskan lagi dengan mempersilakan yang berbahagia Profesor Dr. Rasmi binti Abdullah, Profesor Kehormat Universiti Sains Malaysia, Ketua Eksekutif Kolej Teknologi Darul Naim, Cawangan, Kuala Lumpur untuk menyampaikan ucap tama. Dengan segala hormatnya, dipersilakan.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the keynote speaker, the Honorable Professor Dr. Rasmi binti Abdullah, the Honorary Professor of University of Science Malaysia, the Executive Chairman of Darul Naim College of Technology, Kuala Lumpur, to present her speech.
الآن نتفضل المحترمة سيدة دكتورة رسني بنت عبد الله بروفيسور جامعة العلوم ماليزيا رئيسة إدارية معهد تكنولوجي دار النعيم Kuala Lumpur لإلقاء الكلمات المحترمات.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Terima kasih pengerusi majlis daripada bahasa Inggerisnya, bahasa Malaysianya dan bahasa Arabnya. Masya Allah. Auzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirrabbilalamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala syafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi syrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Puan Hajah Nur Asilah binti Osman, Pengarah Institut Pendidikan Guru Kampus Bahasa Melayu, Misara El-Awaisi, Secretary of Islamic Jerusalem Studies Academy, ISRA-UK, Ustaz Muhammad Lutfi bin Ahmad, Ketua Jabatan Pendidikan Islam dan Moral, Puan Ubaidah binti Muhammad, Wakil HALUAN, Ketua-ketua jabatan, ketua-ketua unit, staf-staf sokongan dan jawatankuasa unit multimedia IPGKBM, para pelajar siswa-siswi, bakal-bakal guru sekalian. Alhamdulillah, saya berasa sangat terharu dan juga rasa bersyukur dapat berada di dalam Dewan Aminuddin Baki ini, ya, sempena Bicara Intelektual Dunia Islam yang telah dianjurkan pada pagi ini, dan saya ingin mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih kepada pengurusan IPG yang sudi menerima kunjungan kami, sudi bekerjasama dengan kami untuk sesi ceramah yang akan disampaikan oleh Puan Sarah El-Awaisi. Terima kasih juga kerana memberi peluang untuk saya memberi sedikit ucap utama. Untuk makluman semua, Puan Sarah dijemput untuk program Road to Baitul Maqdis 2.0 yang dianjurkan bersama antara Haluan Malaysia dan College Teknologi Darul Naim Cawangan Kuala Lumpur. Dan izinkan saya sebagai permulaan untuk memberikan sedikit penerangan ringkas tentang program Road to Baitul Maqdis 2.0 sebelum memulakan ucap utama saya. Jadi program Road to Baitul Maqdis 2.0 adalah penerusan daripada program Road to Baitul Maqdis yang telah mula dijalankan pada tahun lalu. Ya, kita telah bermula pada tahun lalu. Dan tujuan program ini adalah untuk menyampaikan pengetahuan tentang Baitul Maqdis atau apa yang kita kenali sebagai Palestin, serta membina kesedaran akan kepentingan ilmu itu sendiri, kerana ilmu yang bermanfaat dapat menjurus kepada penyusunan dan perancangan bagi membebaskan semula tanah suci Baitul Maqdis. Jadi selama ini perbahasan mengenai Baitul Maqdis atau lebih dikenali sebagai Palestin hanya berfokus kepada aspek emosi atau sentimen sahaja dibandingkan dengan aspek kajian ilmiah. Bahkan kebanyakan perjuangan adalah atas faktor simpati di atas nama kemanusiaan dan ianya hanya mengikut musim yang sementara, bermusim. Namun pendekatan Road to Baitul Maqdis 2.0 adalah untuk bermula dengan ilmu sebagai asas untuk memahami isu Baitul Maqdis. Ya, jadi demikian sedikit penerangan tentang Road to Baitul Maqdis. Iklan sikitlah. Untuk maklumat Sarah, I was just telling them about the Road to Baitul Maqdis program. Okay. Sebab saya datang kampus Bahasa Melayu ni nak praktis sikit berucap dalam Bahasa Melayu, insya-Allah. Okey, saya kini berhadapan dengan anak-anak yang bakal menjadi guru atau pendidik. Jadi nampak semua dah ada aura guru dah. Nampak semua dah bersemangat untuk menjadi guru ya. Jadi sebenarnya saya juga merupakan pendidik. Selama 35 tahun saya mengajar di Universiti Sains Malaysia dalam bidang sains komputer. Masa saya mula-mula menceburi bidang sains komputer ni, dia adalah satu bidang yang sangat alien. Masa tu tahun 1980. Siapa yang dah lahir dah masa tu? Tak ada kan, semua tak lahir lagi. Jadi masa tahun 1980 saya mulakan pengajian sains komputer di Western Michigan University di Amerika, dan soalan pertama yang ditanya kepada saya oleh seorang senior di universiti tersebut masa tu, betulkah awak ni nak buat computer science? Saya kata betul lah. Dia kata betul. Dia tanya 3 kali, betulkah awak nak buat computer science? Saya kata betul. Saya tanya dia, kenapa, ada masalah ke dengan computer science? Dia kata tak ada masalah, tapi awak ni perempuan. Dia kata awak ni perempuan. Saya kata kenapa pula kalau saya perempuan? Perempuan susah nak buat computer science, dia kata. Oh, okey. Perempuan susah nak buat computer science. InsyaAllah kita akan buktikan perempuan boleh buat computer science. Alhamdulillah saya teruskan pengajian saya sehingga ke peringkat PhD dalam bidang sains komputer. Jadi itulah selama 35 tahun berkhidmat dengan USM, berkongsi ilmu. Jadi saya sebagai pendidik, cikgu, memang cita-cita dari kecil dulu nak jadi cikgu, tapi tak mau mengajar budak-budak kecil, nak mengajar pelajar-pelajar dewasa di universiti. Alhamdulillah tercapai cita-cita tersebut ya. Okey, itu selingan sikit. Baik, terdapat perbezaan besar antara menjadi seorang guru dengan menjadi seorang guru yang baik, yang cemerlang. Ya, guru yang baik mempunyai impak yang besar terhadap pelajar dan membantu mereka terlibat dalam pembelajaran sepanjang hayat. Guru-guru yang baik boleh membuat perbezaan besar dalam kehidupan seorang kanak-kanak dari pelbagai peringkat umur. Betul kan? Fikirkan tentang zaman sekolah anda. Adakah anda ingat seorang guru tertentu yang percaya kepada anda, yang yakin anda boleh berjaya, yang memberi inspirasi kepada anda, yang membantu anda dan menjadikan anda yakin bahawa anda boleh berjaya? Ada tak guru seumpama itu dalam kehidupan anda? Ada. Saya masih berkomunikasi atau berhubung dengan guru saya semasa saya darjah 6 pada tahun 1974. Ya, guru tu mengajar saya sehingga kini dia masih ada kan, dan kami masih terus berhubung dan beliau masih terus memberi inspirasi dan keyakinan serta motivasi kepada saya walaupun saya dah 60 lebih dah umur pun kan. Jadi guru tu pun dah boleh bayangkan tak berapa umur guru tu kalau dia menjadi guru saya semasa saya 12 tahun. Ya. Okey, jadi guru-guru baik ini adalah sangat penting. Sebaliknya, anda mungkin juga ingat seorang guru yang tak peduli langsung tentang pelajar, tidak berusaha untuk membantu anda belajar atau memberitahu anda bahawa anda ni tidak cukup baik. Ini bukan jenis guru yang diperlukan oleh kanak-kanak dan remaja pada hari ini. Dan saya yakin pelajar IPG Kampus Bahasa Melayu akan menjadi guru-guru yang baik, malah cemerlang semuanya. InsyaAllah. Ya. Okey, seorang guru yang cemerlang bukan sahaja akan mengajar dengan bersungguh-sungguh, malah akan berusaha lebih keras atau melakukan lebih daripada yang diperlukan. Dia go beyond dia punya normal duties kan, untuk mendidik anak-anak ataupun pelajar mereka. Dan di era kehidupan yang semakin mencabar pada hari ini, lebih lagi lah besarnya cabaran pada para guru untuk mendidik para pelajar. Ya, kita dapat masing-masing kita tahu kan realiti hari ini pelajar-pelajar kita semakin mencabar. Ya, jadi guru menghadapi tugas yang lebih mencabar pada masa depan. Jadi pada pagi ini saya ingin berkongsi dengan bakal guru semua mengenai suasana yang kini menjadi cabaran bagi para pendidik. Dan tadi Puan Pengarah telah sebut perkara tersebut. Siapa ingat? Tadi Puan Pengarah ada sebut kita berada dalam dunia yang penuh cabaran dan beliau telah menyebut tentang VUCA. Perasan tak tadi Puan Pengarah tersebut tentang VUCA? Tahu tak apa tu VUCA? Tahu kan, siapa tahu apa tu VUCA? VUCA adalah dia akronim lah, it's an acronym. V adalah volatile. Saya bagi bahasa Inggeris dulu, nanti saya explain ya dalam bahasa Malaysia. V for volatile, U for uncertain, C for complex, A ambiguous. Okay, volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous. Okay, yang dimaksudkan volatile. Apa yang dimaksudkan dengan volatile? Dia merujuk kepada perubahan yang berlaku secara mendadak dan berlaku dengan pantas. Volatile. Apa yang volatile? Udara volatile. Dia berlaku dengan pantas. Jadi keadaan ini boleh menjadi tidak menentu dan sulit untuk diramal. Uncertain. Uncertain, tidak menentu. Tidak menentu ni merujuk kepada ketidakpastian dan kurangnya kejelasan mengenai situasi atau keadaan di masa depan. Uncertain, kita tak tahu apa yang akan berlaku. Kita memang tak ada idea langsung apa yang akan berlaku. Dan keadaan tidak menentu seringkali mengandungi risiko dan keadaan yang tidak pasti. Kompleks. Kompleks merujuk pada situasi yang rumit lah, ya. Kompleks. Satu yang kompleks tu satu yang susah, yang rumit, yang sukar, mempunyai banyak faktor yang saling berkaitan. Jadi dia kompleks sangat. Jadi keadaan kompleks memerlukan analisis mendalam dan pemahaman yang mendalam untuk memahami cabaran dan isu yang dihadapi. Manakala ambiguous adalah kabur, ya, merujuk pada keadaan di mana maklumat atau situasi itu tak jelas, kabur tu tak clear, tak jelas, ya. Jadi keadaan kabur ni boleh menyebabkan ketidakpastian dan pelbagai penafsiran yang berbeza. Okay. Dalam dunia VUCA, semua ni volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous ni dia berlaku serentak dan boleh mencabar pelajar, pekerja dan masyarakat dalam pelbagai cara. Jadi penting untuk kita faham dan hadapi cabaran ini dengan adaptability, ya, kita boleh sesuaikan diri kita, ketahanan dan kemahiran yang sesuai. Okey. Apakah contoh dunia VUCA? Okey, jadi kita dengar dia punya definition. Kita dengar definition dia. Apa contoh senario dunia VUCA? Kita semua telah melalui dunia VUCA ni. Ya, contoh yang terbaik adalah ketika dunia dilanda pandemik. Semua ingat kan tahun 2020, 2021 kita berada dalam keadaan yang tidak menentu. Kita berada dalam keadaan yang kompleks, yang rumit walaupun semua duduk di rumah. Ingat kan kalau semua duduk di rumah happy je. Tapi macam-macam masalah yang timbul apabila masa duduk di rumah tu. Jadi kalau kita analisiskan setiap akronim tadi, V tadi volatile tu. Dalam kita cuba kaitkan VUCA ni dengan pandemik, ya. Okey, V kita lihat semasa situasi pandemik tu, ya, COVID-19 masa tu sangat cepat berubah. Varian dia tiba-tiba ada varian baru. Belum faham varian lama dah keluar varian baru. Ya, jadi dia pantas, ya, volatile dengan dan SOP pun berubah-ubah. Hari ni SOP lain, besok SOP lain. So itu keadaan volatilenya pandemik ketika tu. Uncertain atau tidak menentu, kita tak tahu bilakah pandemik ni akan berakhir. Ingat tak masa tu kita semua, sampai bila kita semua nak duduk dalam rumah ni? Tak boleh keluar, tak boleh lakukan aktiviti seperti kita biasa sebelum pandemik dulu. Jadi itu uncertainnya, aspek uncertainty. Dan kita juga tertanya-tanya, adakah vaksin yang kita ambil itu berkesan ke tidak? Uncertain. Walaupun ada kajian kata berkesan, ada kajian kata tak berkesan. Jadi semuanya uncertain, tak menentu. Yang kompleks pula, pandemik ni telah menjejaskan masyarakat kita, ya, dari segi kesihatan masyarakat, dari segi ekonomi, dari segi sosial, semuanya telah terjejas. Jadi menjadikan situasi kehidupan ketika itu sangat kompleks. Dan ambiguity, banyak sangat maklumat yang ada, kita pun jadi tak clear dah mana satu maklumat yang betul. Dah jadi sama-sama dah mana satu maklumat yang kita nak terima. Contohnya nak pakai mask, pakai ke tak pakai ke? Betul ke kalau kita kat luar tak perlu pakai? Jadi banyak uncertainty ketika itu, ya. Contoh kedua, itu contoh pertama. Dia kalau tengok contoh tu memudahkan kita untuk faham sikit. Contoh kedua adalah teknologi artificial intelligence. Kan? walaupun ia satu yang positif, yang kita rasa satu yang baik, kita boleh guna dalam kehidupan kita, namun ia boleh dilihat dari sudut VUCA, ya, kerana kita lihat ya, V-nya, volatile-nya, kita dapat lihat AI ni, artificial intelligence atau kecerdasan buatan ni berkembang dengan begitu pantas. Ya, banyak sangat, tiba-tiba ada banyak apps atau tools yang kita nak kena belajar. Saya sendiri pun dah pening dah nak pakai yang mana satu. So saya pakai chat GPT satu je. Kalau pakai banyak-banyak pun nanti pening kepala. So dia punya volatile tu kita pun tak catch up dengan volatility tersebut. Ya, uncertain tu tak ada jaminan bahawa solution AI kita sekarang ni boleh menjadi relevan untuk masa depan. It's uncertain. Ya, it's uncertain sampai bila AI ni akan berkembang dan adakah satu hari dia akan mengawal dunia? Uncertain. Ya, uncertain juga. Lepas tu kompleks. Teknologi ni memanglah kompleks. Kalau kita nak faham betul-betul bagaimana AI beroperasi tu, banyak benda lah kita belajar. Kena belajar sains komputer lah pula kan. So itu yang kompleksnya nak bangunkan sistem tu, nak uji sistem tu. Tapi bagi sekarang kita guna chat GPT atau AI application tu, kita guna je. Bayangkan siapa yang nak bangunkan aplikasi tersebut, dia sangatlah kompleks, ya. Kadang-kadang ada yang nak guna pun dia rasa kompleks dah, tambah lagi yang nak bangunkan, ya. Dan ambiguity, kita tak pasti, ya. Ada kesamaran dalam hasil yang diberikan oleh AI itu. Betul ke? Boleh percaya ke? Tu dia punya aspek sama-sama. So tadi ada dua contoh lah di situ kan. Jadi berbalik kepada dunia buka. Tadi kita dah lihat dua contoh kan, contoh pandemik dan contoh AI, artificial intelligence. Okey, berbalik kepada dunia buka tadi. Apakah kemahiran penting yang perlu dimiliki oleh bakal guru supaya dapat bertahan dalam dunia buka? Ya, kita boleh survive dalam dunia buka. Ya, kalau kita ingat balik masa pandemik tu, banyak kita dengar kisah-kisah ya di mana ada orang yang dia ada mental breakdown dan sebagainya disebabkan tak tahan dengan perubahan kepada gaya hidup dan kompleksiti yang berlaku dalam gaya hidup dan uncertainty, ya, kesamaran, ketidaktentuan, ketidakpastian yang ada ketika itu. Ya, ramai yang terkesan lah di situ, ya. Jadi kita perlu sediakan diri kita, perlu ada kemahiran untuk bertahan dalam dunia buka, khususnya guru-guru yang akan keluar nanti, ya, sebab kita tak tahu nanti apakah buka yang seterusnya. Even with the pandemic, kita tak sedar pun pandemik akan berlaku. Tiba-tiba bila dia berlaku, kita semua terkesan. Jadi kemahiran pertama yang perlu dimiliki oleh bakal guru, malah semua orang lah, tak semestinya hanya bakal guru, ya. Yang pertama ada adaptability dan ketahanan. Ya, kita kena bina daya tahan kita kena bina keupayaan kita untuk sesuaikan diri kita dalam pelbagai keadaan. Ya. Kebolehan untuk menyesuaikan diri dengan perubahan dan bangkit semula dari cabaran. Itu adalah penting, ya. Kita bukan saja nak sesuaikan diri dengan perubahan, tapi sekiranya kita menghadapi cabaran, dugaan, kita kena boleh bangkit semula. Dan kita perlu anggap perubahan sebagai peluang untuk berkembang. Ya, change. Ramai orang susah nak berubah, susah nak menerima perubahan. Ya, jadi kita nak kena pastikan kita boleh menerima perubahan. Ya. Biasalah kita dah biasa buat satu benda tu macam tu je, tiba-tiba orang kata tukar ke cara yang lain. Guna software lain pula lah, nak kena belajar pula software baru. Tu yang sukar kan. Yang keduanya, kemahiran yang perlu ada adalah pemikiran kritis dan penyelesaian masalah. Ya, kita perlu ada pemikiran yang kritis dan skill, kemahiran untuk menyelesaikan masalah dan latih kemampuan untuk menganalisis maklumat, berfikir secara kritis dan mencari penyelesaian dengan kreativiti. Kemahiran ini membantu untuk membuat keputusan berdasarkan informasi yang tepat. Jadi kita kena boleh berupaya untuk membuat sesuatu keputusan berdasarkan data yang ada pada kita. Ya. So sekarang data driven decision making adalah satu yang sangat penting. Yang ketiga adalah kecerdasan emosi, ya, membangunkan kesedaran diri, empati dan kemahiran interpersonal yang berkesan untuk membina hubungan yang kukuh. Yang keempat, literasi digital. Ya, di zaman digital ni, memahami teknologi dan menggunakan internet dengan bertanggungjawab adalah penting untuk komunikasi, pembelajaran dan untuk dapatkan maklumat. Dan kelima adalah kemahiran komunikasi. Ya, mungkin kita rasa remeh kemahiran komunikasi ni, tetapi dalam dunia di mana kita WhatsApp hantar text message saja, bila kita berdepan dengan orang, ada yang mengalami keadaan yang gelabah dan tak tahu bagaimana nak berinteraksi apabila berdepan dengan orang yang lain secara face to face. Jadi kemahiran berkomunikasi dengan baik ini, sama ada secara bertulis atau lisan, adalah sangat penting untuk kita sampaikan idea kita dan untuk kita berkolaborasi atau bekerjasama dengan orang lain serta untuk membina hubungan yang erat. Ya, jadi tak adalah kaitan dengan apa-apa subjek, tapi ini macam kemahiran tambahan yang ya, para guru, bakal guru dan juga individu-individu yang lain sebenarnya perlu ada untuk menyediakan diri bagi dunia yang buka ini. Dengan menguasai kelima kemahiran ini, bakal guru akan lebih bersedia menghadapi cabaran dan ketidakpastian dunia buka serta boleh membantu pelajar untuk menyesuaikan diri dengan buka. Okey, itu untuk diri pendidik. Bagaimana pula pendidik boleh membantu pelajar untuk sesuaikan diri dengan dunia buka? Nanti semua ni nak keluar jadi cikgu kan? Nanti akan ada pelajar-pelajar bersama-sama. Jadi kita bukan hanya nak kemahiran tu untuk diri kita saja, tapi kita nak sampaikan juga, kita nak didik anak murid kita, pelajar kita supaya mereka juga boleh bertahan dengan dunia buka ini. Jadi cara yang pertama, ya, ini antara cara yang boleh kita laksanakanlah. Semangat untuk bantu pelajar seharusnya tercetus dalam diri guru untuk mendorong guru tersebut bertanggungjawab dalam memastikan potensi pelajar mereka dapat direalisasikan. So maknanya guru tu dia mesti ada semangat tu daripada hati dia yang ikhlas untuk membantu pelajar itu, ya. Dan untuk memastikan potensi pelajar tu dapat direalisasikan sepenuhnya. Dan guru sendiri mestilah berdaya tahan menghadapi cabaran yang dihadapi dan bertanggungjawab terhadap pembelajaran sendiri. Yang kedua, adalah penting bagi guru untuk berfungsi dengan berkesan dalam memastikan keperluan pelajar mereka dipenuhi. Ya, guru tu kena berfungsi dengan berkesan. Jadi guru perlu mampu merancang dan menyusun strategi tangkas dan inovatif untuk menyokong kecemerlangan dalam pengajaran dan mewujudkan persekitaran pembelajaran yang kondusif untuk pelajar. Dan ketiga, guru tidak boleh beroperasi secara bersorangan. Maknanya guru tak boleh kerja sorang-sorang, berada dalam dunia dia sendiri saja. Adalah penting guru mendapat ataupun membuat jaringan dalam kalangan guru dan dengan pihak berkepentingan yang lain, baik di dalam maupun di luar sekolah. Dengan adanya jaringan ini dapat menggalakkan pembelajaran merentas sepadan. Jadi sekarang ni jaringan ni sangat penting. Ya, contohnya macam hari ini HALUAN dan Kolej Teknologi Darul Naim, kita membina jaringan. Kita membina jaringan untuk sama-sama bekerjasama untuk projek penyampaian ilmu bagi Baitul Maqdis. Itu satu contoh. Dan kini kita datang ke IPG pula dan bekerjasama dengan IPG. Jadi membina jaringan ini adalah suatu yang sangat penting. Sebenarnya bagi para Muslim sekalian, bagi individu Muslim, Al-Quran telah memberikan panduan bagaimana kita boleh menyesuaikan diri kita kepada dunia buka. Ya. Jadi kita akan berbalik pada Al-Quran untuk penyelesaian kan. Jadi dalam Al-Quran telah diberikan penyelesaian dalam surah Al-Baqarah ayat 38, saya baca maksud dia. Kami berfirman lagi, turunlah kamu semuanya dari syurga itu. Kemudian jika datang kepada kamu petunjuk dariku melalui rasul dan kitab-kitab yang diturunkan kepada mereka, maka sesiapa yang mengikuti petunjukku, nescaya tidak ada kebimbangan dari sesuatu yang tidak baik terhadap mereka dan mereka pula tidak akan berduka cita. Ya, jadi ini kita boleh gunakan panduan daripada Al-Quran ini sebagai untuk menyesuaikan diri kita kepada dunia buka. Okey, seterusnya ya. Di dalam kegarahan bakal guru untuk membantu pelajar menghadapi dunia buka, satu aspek yang tidak boleh diabaikan ialah untuk melahirkan pelajar yang bukan saja berilmu tetapi juga baik tingkah laku dan berakhlak mulia. Paling penting adalah untuk guru sendiri menjadi tauladan kerana contoh yang diberikan sebagai guru sangat berkesan dalam membina akhlak pelajar. Kita nak menjadikan contoh sebagai tauladan dan guru sebagai role model. Guru perlu menjadi contoh yang baik dalam tingkah laku dan nilai-nilai yang ingin ditanamkan dalam pelajar, dan guru juga boleh mengintegrasikan nilai-nilai akhlak dalam pengajaran secara berterusan dalam mewujudkan masyarakat yang beradab. Ya, adab adalah perkara yang perlu dititik beratkan bagi memastikan hubungan yang baik antara sesama manusia. Dan adab ni merangkumi semua aspek tingkah laku manusia seperti etika, budi bicara, moral, budi pekerti dan kesopanan. Dan adab menunjukkan ketinggian akhlak. Adab juga dapat menjamin keharmonian dalam hubungan sesama manusia serta menjadi pemangkin pembinaan kesatuan dalam masyarakat. Namun, membina akhlak yang baik dalam kalangan pelajar adalah proses yang berterusan dan memerlukan kesabaran. Jadi bakal-bakal guru ni kena banyak bersabarlah bila keluar di luar sana. Ya, anak saya pun baru sebenarnya mengakhiri latihan mengajar beliau, tapi dia dalam bidang pendidikan khas. Jadi lagi kena banyak sabar. Tiap-tiap hari dia akan bawa balik macam-macam cerita ya tentang anak-anak, yalah bila pendidikan khas ni kita fahamlah ya keadaan anak-anak tu macam mana, tetapi apabila guru-guru ni boleh bersabar, lama-lama kita dapat melihat mereka juga boleh meningkat daripada segi pemahaman mereka ya, dari segi penguasaan ilmu mereka dan dari segi akhlak mereka juga. Okey, jadi sebagai kesimpulan dan sampai ke akhir dah ni. Kita tak tahu apakah buka yang bakal mendatang. Kita pasti. Uncertain, kita pasti. Ketika pandemik melanda, dunia menjadi kelam kabut kerana selama ini kita berada dalam persekitaran yang stabil dan boleh diramal. Kan, ingat kan kita semua dalam keadaan yang comfort zone, kita selesa. Masa tu berada dalam zon selesa, tiba-tiba pandemik datang, kita jadi kucak-kacir rasanya. Jadi sangatlah penting untuk bakal guru, ya, untuk saya, untuk hadirin-hadirin yang lain, ya, memahami dunia buka ini, ya, yang sangat mencabar, ya, dan kita tingkatkan kemahiran kita bagi kita boleh menghadapi dunia buka tersebut, agar kita juga dapat membimbing pelajar di bawah seliaan kita untuk bersedia menghadapi apa jua cabaran. Ya. Jadi setakat itu saja yang mampu saya kongsikan pada pagi ini. Saya ucapkan pada bakal-bakal guru di sini, ya, selamat maju jaya dalam kerjaya masing-masing. Semoga menjadi guru yang cemerlang. Ya. Sekian, terima kasih.
Terima kasih diucapkan kepada Profesor Dr. Rasmi binti Abdullah atas ucapan yang disampaikan sebentar tadi.
Thank you, the Honorable Professor Dr. Rasmi binti Abdullah for the keynote speech.
Syukran ala ilqa'i kalimat al-muhtaramat munzu qali.
Hadirin sekalian, sebelum acara diteruskan dengan penceramah jemputan, izinkan saya membacakan sedikit tentang latar belakang beliau. Puan Sarah El-Awaisi, pemegang ijazah sarjana dalam pendidikan dan inovasi dari Dundee University, United Kingdom. Ijazah sarjana dalam pengajian Islamic Jerusalem dari Aberdeen University, United Kingdom. Diploma dalam pengajian Islamic Jerusalem Studies, United Kingdom. Dan ijazah sarjana muda dalam sejarah serta politik dari Dundee University, United Kingdom. Beliau juga merupakan seorang pengasas halaman Instagram Aqsa for Kids, penulis bersama kurikulum kanak-kanak pemimpin masa depan mengenai Baitul Al-Maqdis dan Masjid Al-Aqsa. merupakan seorang guru serta pencerita kisah para nabi dan Masjid Al-Aqsa serta berpengalaman luas sebagai jurulatih kurikulum untuk memimpin masa depan yang dikhususkan kepada para ibu bapa dan pendidik. Tanpa melengahkan masa, saya mempersilakan yang berusaha Puan Nurul Hana binti Hussein sebagai moderator dan yang berusaha Puan Sarah El-Awaisi sebagai panel berbentang pada hari ini bagi meneruskan agenda utama Majlis Bicara Intelektual Dunia Islam yang bertajuk Hak Asasi Manusia dan Isu-isu Kontemporari Dunia Islam. Dengan ini, dipersilakan.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome our moderator, Madam Nurul Hana binti Hussein, and our speaker, Madam Sarah El-Awaisi from Academy of Islamic Jerusalem Studies, United Kingdom, to share her talk entitled Human Rights and Contemporary Issues of the Islamic World.
الحاضرون والحاضرات الأعزاء، قبل بداية البرنامج أحب أن أعرف لكم النبذة تاريخية لضيفتنا الأولى في هذا اليوم، وهي سارة العويسي. حصلت على شهادة الماجستير في التعليم والابتكار من جامعة الدندي المملكة البريطانية، وشهادة الماجستير في دراسة القدس الإسلامية من جامعة أبردين المملكة البريطانية، وهي أيضا مؤسسة الأقصى للأطفال على الإنستغرام، ومشاركة في تأليف كتاب المسمى مناهج لأطفال قادة المستقبل عن بيت المقدس والمسجد الأقصى، وهي مدرسة لقصص الأنبياء والمسجد الأقصى. بالإضافة إلى ذلك عندها خبرة تدريب المناهج الدراسية لقادة المستقبل لأولياء الأمور والمعلمين. بدون تأخير حان الوقت لنعيش ونستمع معا إلى الحديث الفكري للعالم الإسلامي تحت الموضوع حقوق الإنسان والقضايا المعاصرة في العالم الإسلامي. ونفوض الآن إلى صاحب الجلسة المحترمة سيدة نور الهنا بنت حسين والمتحدثة المحترمة سارة العويسي. ومن أجل ذلك هيا نستمع معا فليتفضلهما مأجورا.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good day to everyone in the hall. Okay, we are so blessed to have Madam Sarah El-Awaisi with us today on this blessed morning, who is going to talk about human rights and contemporary issues of the Islamic world. Okay, so before we embark on the topic, Ms. Sarah, probably you could tell us about your role in Islamic Jerusalem Studies Academy first, and then you can go ahead with our topic today. All right, thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khair for having me. My role in the Academy for Islamic Jerusalem Studies, I have studied Masters in Islamic Jerusalem Studies. And I think since a young age, I have been kind of involved in the study of Bayt al-Maqdis and Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, Al-Aqsa Mosque. And I think for a long time, I used to always say growing up, I wanted to learn about our Islamic history, our Islamic contemporary issues. But then I think it only happened when I managed to kind of study that and have that knowledge in the study of Bayt al-Maqdis, which I hope, inshallah, I will share a little bit with you today, bi'idhnillah.
testing. All right. Okay, so we move on to the current issues, contemporary issues in the Islamic world, especially in Palestine. Yes, go ahead, Ms. Sarah.
Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أطيب المرسلين محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Puan Haja Noor Asila bin Usman, Dr. Nirwana bint Muhammad Rashid, Ustadh Muhammad Lutfi bin Ahmad, Professor Rasmi bint Abdullah, Puan Ustadha Ubaida Muhammad. I'm sure I pronounced half of them wrong, so my apologies. Ladies and gentlemen, students of knowledge, good morning and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I actually feel extremely honored being here in IPG and having the opportunity to speak to you today. And sitting here is so different than sitting with our backs to you, seeing our future right in front of us. Some people think our future is held in the hands of politicians, policymakers. I say our future is held by our educators. So I feel extremely blessed to have had this opportunity to be here at the university. Jazakumullah khair to everyone who has organized today to speak about some of our contemporary issues in the Muslim world, speak about the state of our education, the role that you can do, the role of teachers in the ongoing movement for education reform, as well as our role in connecting students with Bayt al-Maqdis and Al-Aqsa Mosque through education, inshallah. As teachers, we are entrusted with a vital task of shaping the minds and futures of our students. We must strive to create opportunities for them to learn and grow into intelligent and productive members of society and the ummah. We don't live in a small bubble. We don't live here just in Malaysia or in the UK or in Palestine. What bonds us is our humanity. We must strive to create opportunities for them to learn and grow into intelligent, free, and productive members of society. As educators, the impact we have on individual students and society cannot be overstated. However, we also must acknowledge that the current education system, not only just in Malaysia, but worldwide and mostly in the Islamic world, is probably in need of some reform. Our task, therefore, is to continue to evolve and innovate in our approach to education, adopting to meet the needs of our students in the ever-changing world. We can't expect ourselves to be teaching in the same way I was taught in school in the 90s. You can't expect to be teaching your pupils in the same way that you were taught in schools. Today, inshallah, we will explore the role of education in society and discuss how we as educators can take on the challenges of reforming the system for the benefit of our students, especially in this contemporary world. As educators, it is important for us not only to understand the global challenges facing our communities, but also empower future generations to tackle these challenges with knowledge. But first, before I continue, I would like to ask for a volunteer to come to stage. I know you don't know what you're volunteering for, but I just need one person. Have the courage and come up to stage, please. Yalla, bismillah. Okay, you're very courageous. What's your name?
My name is Afiq.
Afiq, right. Do you guys think Afiq is quite brave and courageous to stand on stage? I'm holding sellotape in my hand. He has no clue what we're about to do, so this is not set up before. Okay, I would like to ask you if you can wrap sellotape around your thumb, so like this, and just sellotape around it. Is that okay? I can help you if you want. I hope it's not too tight. Is it tight? So it's meant to be tight. Okay, I would like you to try and hold that water bottle if you can, just with your right hand. Okay, yep, perfect, okay. If you can put it back. I'm not going to ask you to hold that glass. Are you able to hold the flower bouquet with your fingers, do you think? It'll be...
I don't think so. I need my both hands to hold the flowers, the bouquet, I think.
Okay. Do you think you can unbutton one of your buttons, your shirt with your fingers? It's getting harder, isn't it? Do you think? Do you want to try and see? Can you button one, unbutton it? Do you think you can do it?
I don't think so. Since my routine, I always both my hands to just unbutton my shirt. So I don't think I can do that with just my hand. Like,
it would be extremely difficult to use just your fingers to...
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you. What I was trying to illustrate here, if you hold your hand out, society is built on many foundations. Many foundations. We have political, economy, social, but the thumb right here is our education. And what we're trying to do here to say that without our education, our society will fall. No civilization. We can't really be a true, effective society if our education it doesn't sit right in our society. If we always think that it's not a priority, then this is what will happen. You're trying to hold a water bottle, open up, simple things. Society has no knowledge, there's no foundation, no basis. So this illustrates the role of education and educators. So imagine yourself next time, if we don't do a good job by training amazing teachers and amazing educators, what will happen to our society? You see the picture?
I think it's like Japan. When the Second World War ended, the emperor asked, where's the teacher to build the nations again? And we can see how the Japans can rise again after for 10 years. They become the most powerful nations in industries that we can see until today.
Through education. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I'm sorry about the sellotape. Okay, so we kind of understand from the beginning why you are here. Whether you decided to study and learn to be a teacher from your own accord, or maybe I think sometimes our parents might push us towards a profession or not, I really hope you realize the importance of your job and the importance of your presence in this training college in the next few years that you have here. You will shape our society, and it is essential and important that you do an amazing job. So teachers hold an enormously important responsibility in shaping and guiding young minds, our future. They play a crucial role in the development of students' intellectual, moral, and social growth. The primary function of teachers is to impart knowledge to students. However, the role extends beyond the classroom. Teachers need to have a deep understanding of their students' social and emotional needs and help them develop the necessary skills to lead a successful life and a successful society, a successful ummah. It is vital that we are able to cultivate students' creativity, critical thinking, as well as inspiring a love for learning. We might come from a generation that none of this was true. And the only thing maybe that was a concern is study, memorize, get good grades. I think we live in a different era. Thank God we do. And so your responsibility, your challenges are a lot different than ours. I want you, while you're sitting today, I want you to think of an amazing lesson from your childhood. So think back in your primary school, your secondary school, and pick one lesson that was amazing. It might be because you had an amazing teacher. It might be because you love that subject, but there was something specific that made that lesson amazing, right? I mean, you can also remember the opposite. I remember a subject I didn't enjoy so much, physics. I can never get my mind to exactly understand physics in any form. And my teacher, what should I say? He was pretty boring. Did not make the subject exciting in any way. And I only took physics because my brother said, if you take it, will help you, you'll get good grades. So equally the same, an amazing lesson or a boring, terrible lesson will have sort of some aspects that will linger in your mind today. So have a think of them when you are trying to set up your classroom to teach students. You want to inspire them. You want that love for learning to be happening. We need to create a safe and inclusive learning environment when everyone feels, all the students feels valued and appreciated. We want to hear their opinion. We want them to be critical thinkers. Maybe when we were in school, the teacher is like, you have everything correct. I cannot even challenge my teacher. I cannot challenge him with a question. We live in a different world today. We need those future students, future leaders to be critical and to ask us the questions, even if they are difficult ones. The role of teachers is diverse, and their contribution to society cannot be overstated. They play an essential role in shaping the next generation of leaders, thinkers, and innovators. So your role, I don't have to state how essential it is to our survival as a civilization, as a community, and as an ummah. As you are undergoing your training years, think of the rewards and benefits. I think from a Muslim perspective, the act of seeking knowledge is a virtue. There's a hadith that says, whoever takes a path in search of knowledge, Allah will cause him to walk in one of the paths of paradise. Indeed, the angels will lower their wings in great pleasure with the one who seeks knowledge. So what you are doing, coming to college, coming to university, every day learning, being the best version that you can as teachers, you are doing an incredible job. And not only that within your faith, but also part of your community. You have a say in how Malaysia will look like in 20 years' time, because you will be working with those children who will be shaping Malaysia's future. As much as we want to be inspired today by this amazing profession, and I am quite biased to say I think this is the most important profession. I think it's also important to address some of the issues and reflect possibly on what can undermine the education process. The education system within the Muslim world is one that needs re-evaluating to enable reform. It's outdated, and that's putting it politely. I'm talking about schools, primary, secondary. We really need to shake our education system. In some Muslim countries, or probably all of them, the education system in school has little emphasis on critical thinking and problem solving. In fact, it's based on memorization, parrot-like teaching. So teacher will stand, say everything that they know, and that's it. There's no chance even for the students to have any sort of engagement, being critical, asking questions, because God forbid, we can't really. The teacher is so perfect, they know everything. They're an encyclopedia, we cannot argue or question. We're all humans, remember, so we all get things right and things wrong. The curriculum also is something that needs major revision, update, and reform. There needs to be emphasis on critical thinking, and that's probably one of the things that is really, it's not present in our education system and in our curriculum. It needs to be one that incorporates modern teaching approaches, or possibly a combination of traditional and modern approaches. This was kind of my little introduction, and I think you already know how important your role is in society. But let us look at the issue of Bayt al-Maqdis and how we must tackle the issue of ignorance that surrounds it. When Palestine was occupied by Britain in 1917, and then again by Israel in 1948, we call this in Arabic the Nakba. Have you heard this term before? Nakba. Nakba means catastrophe, because what could be worse than losing your land? But what we have forgotten is that years prior to that, we have been enduring something called the intellectual catastrophe, al-Nakba al-Ma'rifiyya. So not just your land has been occupied and stolen, but our minds are occupied, they're not free. Everything we think is someone else's thought. Everything we do is someone else's plan for us, different agendas. And so this is a big problem. As a society, we have really become crazy looking for everything that is fast. We look for fast food in our eating. We look also for fast learning, fast education. We quickly want a certificate, put that certificate on our wall and say, look, I studied at this university. I'm a doctor. I'm this, I'm that. And what we are not realizing is the problem that we are facing in our society through this way. One of the manifestations of this intellectual catastrophe is how we deal with the issue of Palestine and Bayt al-Maqdis. Have you ever considered why there is little mention or reference in our curriculums, in schools and in universities, on Al-Aqsa Mosque and Bayt al-Maqdis? Academically, Bayt al-Maqdis is a whole field of inquiry. But due to this intellectual catastrophe or intellectual slavery that the Muslim mind are now in, we see a complete omission for the significance of this holy land in our textbooks, in our schools, in our mosques, everywhere in society. We have reached a level of ignorance that some people may even be surprised when you tell them that this place is important, it's holy, it's significant. What? Why? I thought it was just the Kaaba. Due to this lack of knowledge present in our curriculum and education system on this issue, we tend to find that people are connected with this region emotionally. There's no academic interest, and even emotionally or religiously, it's very shallow emotion. That this means that when something happens in Palestine and in Bayt al-Maqdis, what happens? There's an uproar, there's demonstrations everywhere. We're talking about one of the most vital issues of human rights, violations of human rights that are happening day in, day out in this region. Yet our response is generally quite emotional. And I guess the issue here, if we are lacking the knowledge, if we don't know what we are fighting for, then that is the limit or the extent of our reaction. How can we expect the future generation, our children, to understand why this region, Bayt al-Maqdis and Al-Aqsa Mosque, is part of our faith identity and is a representation of our human connection worldwide? Changing societies, changing narratives is not easy. Building a nation is not easy. But building a nation starts with the young generation and how our education shapes their mind. Do you see how, no matter how big the issue we are tackling an issue that has been in the news, that has been occupied for 100 years, yet we've not found a solution. Because education was absent from the solution. We don't think education is the most important. We leave it to our politicians and we think that's how the situation will be resolved. Or even more importantly as well, trying to make this issue a Palestinian issue. Making it a Palestinian issue rather than a Muslim and a global human issue. Whether you are a Muslim here in Malaysia, in China, Africa, Antarctica, wherever you are, this issue is yours. If you are concerned with human rights, this issue is yours. It's crucial because no matter what we do, we cannot say that this is only a Palestinian issue and close our eyes and move on. Instead of to illustrate this issue, before we move on, I think even examining terminologies, part of this intellectual catastrophe, is essential. Today, because of our lack of knowledge and our lack of understanding, we are left with academic studies that are either one of two. Either you have Israeli Orientalist academic research on Bayt al-Maqdis, or you have Muslim emotional research. And both of them, there's a problem and there's an issue with both. The first one, with the Israeli Orientalist academic sources, they will study every Muslim source, Quran, Hadith, with the sole purpose of undermining Al-Aqsa Mosque and Bayt al-Maqdis within the Muslim tradition. So they will say, it's not mentioned in the Quran. It's only maybe mentioned, oh, this must be a mistake. And also to serve their agenda, give the occupation legitimacy. And that's what's been happening since 1948. When I say this is probably the most pressing issue for human rights, violation, constant violation of human rights, Israel can get away with this because it's backed up by its own research and academia, religious or non-religious, to say that they have the right to be on that land, regardless of what they do. So we have this on one hand, on the other hand, we have emotional, non-academic Muslim writing on Bayt al-Maqdis. And I think this is the problem. These are not academic writings. We sit and say it's very important in our faith and so on, yet it lacks basic academic methodology. And unfortunately, that's the state of our ummah. The most probably, the example that I would like to say today is that even within Muslim writing today, with all the normalization of ties between Israelis and the Arab world, unfortunately, now you will see Muslim and Arab academics, they will use terminologies used by Israel. Instead of referring to Al-Aqsa Mosque, using Temple Mount, and other terminologies that give legitimacy to the narrative that Israel is trying to put forward. So when I say everything goes back to education, reforming our education system starts with this: educating our ummah, educating people on the significance of Bayt al-Maqdis. Within the Muslim sources, there is plenty to learn about the importance and significance of how the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, dealt with this issue. Was it a priority or was it not? And maybe this is something that we can discuss. It's essential that we go back to knowledge. This is the start to learn. Instead, I think it is very difficult within a very short period of time to list why this place is significant and holy, why it is essential that we stand up as a community, as an ummah, and educate ourselves first and educate the generation that we have become entrusted in, to give them the right knowledge, to start with the right foundation. And if I may mention probably 3 reasons why Bayt al-Maqdis is an essential part of the Muslim creed and Muslim aqeedah. Because there is plenty. We could be sitting here for hours. And I think if we want to remember, as teachers, you know, it's a habit. When we speak, we have to make things easy for children. So today I will make it easy for you. So there will be 1, 2, 3. 3 things that I will mention about why Bayt al-Maqdis and Al-Aqsa Mosque is important. Okay? So hopefully when we go home, we can at least remember 3 things. So for Muslims, Al-Aqsa Mosque is the first qibla, the first place of direction. What does that mean? That means the first place, the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, he started, or prayer started, he would face Al-Aqsa Mosque. From the beginning, he was where? In Mecca. He was beside the Kaaba. And that's probably the holy place that we hear about all the time, the Kaaba. But Allah, God made the first place to direct your prayer towards was Al-Aqsa Mosque. For not 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, for 14.5 years. A very long time. So that connection that he had and the Muslim community had was massive. The second reason, or the number 2, we said number 1, why is it important? We said first qibla, first place of direction. Number 2, the second connection is that Al-Aqsa Mosque was the second mosque built on earth. What does that mean? It was the second mosque on earth. Muslims believe that the first mosque built was the Kaaba, followed by Al-Aqsa Mosque, which means that this place, this mosque, is not on the periphery. It's not something that came at the time of Muhammad later on. This is something that started from the beginning of humanity, from the time of Adam, peace be upon him. So when we talk about importance, we don't trace it back to the time of Prophet Muhammad. We take it back to the time of the first human that was created. So when we undermine this, the significance of Al-Aqsa Mosque and Bayt al-Maqdis, remember how significant it is from the beginning. And the third importance that I would say, so we said it was the first place of direction, the second mosque that was built. And the third thing that I want to say is that the Prophet, peace be upon him, he had a plan to liberate Bayt al-Maqdis. So we're talking about our camp road to Bayt al-Maqdis. That happened 1,400 years ago. He had a plan where the companions were connected to this place from the beginning, from the time they became Muslim. They prayed towards it. When they read verses that were revealed on the Prophet, these verses were about prophets who were in that region, in Bayt al-Maqdis. Some prophets were born there, some prophets migrated to that place. It was a safe haven to those prophets. This place, this region, was a place where some of these prophets were kings. It is important. We're not talking about a place that has now or recently is becoming important. It has been important since God created earth. And so the third point is the plan of the Prophet. He had a plan to liberate this region. This region at that time was under the Byzantine Empire, the Roman Empire. And he did everything he can in his power in the years that he was alive to prepare the companions for that liberation. And so politically they were engaged, and that followed all the military steps until he died, and that issue continued by the first Caliph Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and then Umar ibn al-Khattab. And we see at the time of Umar, we think that sometimes when we think about Bayt al-Maqdis, we think that it's an exclusively Muslim place. Bayt al-Maqdis is one of the most diverse regions in the world since the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab. And yes, God created us differently, yet he gave us the way in which we should live together in harmony and peace. And so we see the amazing Umar who comes in, who is asked to come, and he is given the keys of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And he, in return, he gives them a treaty, Umar's treaty of assurance. And that is something for us to learn about today. We live in inclusive societies, but what does that mean? Look at the example of Umar ibn al-Khattab and how he gave assurances and safety to everyone in that region. There is a lot we can learn from. Because when we compare that to the occupation of today, when Muslims and Christians in Bayt al-Maqdis enduring hardship and punishment on a daily basis, not getting access to your own holy places. Imagine, in Malaysia, everyone is free to practice their faith. Imagine one of the most holiest mosques, Al-Aqsa Mosque. To enter that mosque, you need to have permission from the Israeli authority. For Christians as well in Bayt al-Maqdis, on days that they celebrate Easter and Christmas, they are being punished and persecuted by Israel, by the occupation, because there is no place for Israel in Palestine and Bayt al-Maqdis. They are occupation and they are occupiers. And we need to build that knowledge and understand that this is one of the most dangerous Western colonial propaganda within that region. And the faster we acknowledge and know this through knowledge, the faster we are able to find a solution for this 100-year problem. I think I took long, so I will conclude. I think
I wanted to take the example of Bayt al-Maqdis and education. Bayt al-Maqdis has been occupied for the last 100 years. Politicians have been trying. I don't know if they've been trying very hard or not, but they've been trying and nothing has worked. So it is time that we reshape the solution and start with knowledge. We need to reshape that narrative, especially with this most pressing issue of the Ummah, the issue of Bayt al-Maqdis. Knowledge is truly power. And I'm sure the teachers here at the college will always tell you this. Knowledge is power. So I end by saying that you hold the most important job in shaping the foundation of any civilization through knowledge and education, and freeing our minds from our current disease, the intellectual catastrophe. Education, education, education is the only way forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. Okay, so Ms. Sarah has talked a lot about the importance of education. All right, so it would be interesting if we could compare and contrast. For your knowledge, the students here, they are privileged. They got scholarship, all right, and they are privileged to be here because they are future teachers and who are going to teach the primary school students. All right, now, probably you could educate us a comparison with how the Palestinians educate their future teachers. Do they have the same privilege, or what are the struggles that they have to go through?
Thank you. That's actually an amazing question. And I think sometimes we forget the privilege we live in. When we live in a safe, stable country, we have the privilege to be on scholarships, and this is amazing for students. And the privilege to come to university freely. Can you imagine on your way to the university today, you were stopped by maybe 3 or 4 checkpoints. And one of the checkpoints, so if it takes you, how long does it take you to reach the college? Half an hour? More or less? Okay, less. 15 minutes? Wow, less. You're neighbors of the university. That's amazing. Now imagine you live 10 minutes away from the university, and because of the apartheid wall that has been built within Bayt al-Maqdis, you have to reroute your route and take maybe 4 hours. And I'm not exaggerating when I say it takes Palestinians sometimes 4 or more hours to reach their schools. And I'm talking about young students, primary school children with heavy bags on their shoulders. They're trying to get to school because their parents raised them that yes, we've lost our land, but through education, we can achieve a lot. So they will go, even getting to school, the difficulties and obstacles that are on your way from checkpoints, taking your bag down so that the Israeli soldiers can look through what is in your bag, asking you to take your clothes off. No, absolutely no dignity. Taking your clothes off so that the Israeli securities can check that you don't have any weapons. You're a school child. You might be 6, you might be 7, you might be 10. But that's also the case for also university students. It's the same across the entire education spectrum. So in terms of obstacles, even getting to school, getting to college and university is one of the biggest obstacles. I actually studied in Hebron, in Bayt al-Maqdis, in primary school. And So we had a primary school for girls, and next to it there was a primary school for boys. And at that time, as a child, you don't understand occupation. You're born into this. So you see this, you see Israeli soldiers on your way to school and so on. And I remember, for no reason, we're studying in class, and all of a sudden there are tear bombs being thrown right into our school. I actually remember teachers would hide onion in their drawers because they say, you know, if you smell it, then that will take away the smoke of all the tear gas. Can you imagine? I was like in primary 1, 6-year-old. So when we talk about the privilege of having an education, there is nothing more important for Palestinians today than education, because maybe that's the only thing they are able to control. So you might see families saving money to even send their sons and daughters to study outside of Palestine, because the education, there is no reliability in that sense. So there's a huge privilege that you have here today. And I hope you can realize how essential it is for you, so far away from Bayt al-Maqdis, all the way here in Malaysia. But your responsibility is not just in Malaysia. You're a teacher, you're an educator, and that means education is your priority. It's on your shoulders, and that includes education of children of the world. And if it means that you are able to do your bit through education, helping education within Palestine, then that could be a start, and that could be something where we can pair teachers as well to help within this difficult situation.
So it could be done online, meaning, can we get through the internet, collaborate with the Palestinian teachers?
I think there are across within what we call the West Bank universities, there are organizations that do try to make people kind of feel closer to the Palestinian population. I'm not saying it's easy to organize, because even sometimes going to Palestine, maybe to have what do you call it, maybe part of your like student exchange, that's very difficult to happen, because we're talking about a situation where occupation is in charge of everything. It's not as easy as, you know, you can maybe have a semester exchange with pupils in neighboring countries. It's not the same. So I think as well, our role, your role as educators, to make sure that that knowledge is passed on, so that people in Palestine don't feel that they are alone. When people in South Africa were facing apartheid, did the world stay silent? At the beginning they did, yes. But this drive of education and learning must come from people outside of Palestine. As much as they have a role to play within Bayt al-Maqdis, you have a role to play here today.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Now that there are a lot of NGOs in Malaysia, such as HALUAN, Aman Palestine, and then MAPIM, trying to get fund. And in fact, there is a Malaysian who is married to Palestinian, Nadir Al-Nuri. I'm not sure whether you know him or not. He also organized, contributions to be passed over to the Palestinian people. So apart from that, the monetary, the funding and so on, what else can we do?
I think that's a really important question, when we can sit here and hear about a situation and we feel helpless. And I think being teachers here, students of knowledge, there's always something that we can do. What has been done in the past has not worked. Even raising money and sending money to help people in Bayt al-Maqdis, that will only be kind of a temporary solution to help them within maybe their daily life and so on. And as important that is, I think it's essential that after 100 years of occupation, we realize that the problem is much bigger than that. We can continue to do that, and there is no issue in doing that, but I think the solution lies somewhere else. The solution is in education and in not leaving this issue to be a Palestinian issue. For so long, even the Palestinians themselves made this issue a Palestinian issue when it's a Muslim and a human issue. And we need to realize that today. So when we talk about solutions, what can we do? What can you do as teachers? One of the things that I think Israel hates the most is when information and knowledge is spread and disseminated around the world. So they might block YouTube accounts, Instagram accounts, because these people are actually showing the real world what is happening. But our solution today is focused on education, because you are the teachers of our future generation. So what do we need to do in that sense? We need knowledge. We need to start learning. So there's something we could do whether we are Muslim or non-Muslim. If you are Muslim and this is one of the holiest mosques in your faith, what do you know about it? What do you know about Al-Aqsa Mosque? What do you know about Bayt al-Maqdis? It's very hard for me to sit and say, this is, give you as much information as possible within a short period of time. But I wanted to say that every time you open the Quran, what do you find inside the Quran? Apart from rules and maybe fiqh rulings and so on, what else is comprises a third of the Quran? Stories of the prophets, of people before us. And people before us, these prophets, 25 prophets that were mentioned in the Quran, most, if not all of them, are connected to Bayt al-Maqdis. What do we know about them? We learned about the stories of Prophet Adam, Prophet Ibrahim, Moses, Jesus, David, Solomon. We've learned about them as children. Did we learn about Bayt al-Maqdis though? We didn't. So there is a problem even in the way that we were taught these stories. These stories stress on the importance of this region. And I will use one example. Sometimes when you ask a Muslim, why is this important, this place is important to you, they say, oh, it was the place of the night journey, Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj. Yes? And maybe this is the only thing that they know. Let me tell you something about the night journey and ascension. During this miraculous night, God chose to take Prophet Muhammad from Mecca to Al-Aqsa Mosque and from there to heaven. Yes? He could have taken the Prophet from Mecca to Malaysia. He could have taken the Prophet from Mecca to Iraq, to a different place in the world. Yet he took him to Al-Aqsa Mosque. And that should make you think, why? And when the Prophet went up to the heavens, received the gift of Salah, came down, he found every prophet and messenger waiting for him because he is the leader of the Ummah. 124,000 prophets and messengers were inside Al-Aqsa Mosque, waiting for the Prophet to lead them in prayer. So all prophets are connected to Bayt al-Maqdis or not? This is apart from prophets who were born there and who had their kingdoms within that region as well. So for Muslims, go and learn your faith. Go and strengthen your knowledge and understand why this place is important to you. And for Muslims and non-Muslims, today is our job to disseminate and show the real face of Israel. This face that Israel is trying to cover, the horrible face of the occupation. It is horrendous, the things that Israel gets away with. Atrocity one after the other. And yet, people today might not even know who the occupier is. Is there a war going on in Palestine? What is happening in Palestine? So this is a job that we can all do. Remember, you are shaping the future of Malaysians. If you as teachers don't understand what is going on in one of the most pressing issues in the world, then this is a problem. I was taught my secondary school in the UK. So I had teachers who never even saw Palestine as a country. I remember when I first moved to the UK and the teacher said, everyone on the map, go show us where you're from and show us your flag. And I was 10. I was in tears. I could not find my country. I could not find my flag. And I was telling the teacher, it's with broken English, similar to this one, as in the flag of Jordan, but no star. I didn't understand why my country was not in those books. So you have the privilege to shape the thinking and understanding of the next generation. The solution is not to start from the age of 20. When we start university, we understand we start from the beginning. Because this is a human issue. And it's really a shame that we are still living in 2023 and this place is still under occupation. When the war started in Ukraine, the entire world went in an uproar. So we must take strength from our education and our knowledge. And I would say this is my only message today to all of you. To go and learn. You are the teachers. You need to go and learn and understand about Bayt al-Maqdis and Palestine, because you are going to be teaching those next generation. And if you don't know, you won't be able to pass that on.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Now, students, ladies and gentlemen, what Sarah is saying is that after 100 years of occupation, the children of the Israelis, to them, it's their right to claim the land, all right? But we, in the Muslim world, we need to shape the mind of our children that it is not right. Okay, it is wrong to take somebody else's land. But after 100 years, if we don't pass this on to our children, then people will just think that, well, that's the land of the Israelis. But it is not. It belongs to the Palestinians. Okay, now we have time for Q&A session. So, students, if you have any question from the floor, can somebody pass the mic? He could.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Again, it is me, Miss Sarah. My name is Afiq. I want to ask 2 questions. Is it okay?
Yes, of course.
Okay. My first question is, just in less than 24 hours, a 16-year-old Muhammad Yusuf Ismail was killed in Palestine. His death marked the 44th child killed in Palestine just in 2023. So, in your opinions, so what are the legal and human rights implications of the death recent in Palestine children at the hands of Israeli forces, and what measures can be taken to ensure the the justice for these victims in accordance with the international law, especially for the futures of the children's education, especially because just like what you have said to us just now about how the children strive to go to the school. And the second question is, you talk about how the world see Al-Aqsa as a holy land and as it should be. I see that the international media and journalists play a significant role in uncover the accurate informations and providing insight from the occupied land of Palestine. So again, what's your opinion of the media play, especially for the international societies, to make them understand of the oppressions and occupation of Palestinians, and what impact can this have on the efforts to promote justice and human rights in the regions, to promote peace talk or cultural and religions talk between the Israelis and Palestinians to make this to be end. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I'm glad your thumb is okay after the whole sellotape. Okay, so a few questions here. Thank you for mentioning the recent story of yet another Palestinian child. This is not an issue or a story about one child. I think you counted 44, and if we keep going back, this is normal for the occupier. This is normal for Israel. Children, you would think that would make the world think about human rights. These are children being killed on way to school or in their city, in their village, children being killed, children being imprisoned. I think this is something that I found very difficult to get my head around. When you have children and you think, my child who is 9 could be imprisoned. I thought prisons were for adults. When you're old enough, and yet you see in Palestine, children being imprisoned throughout their childhood. Their whole childhood is spent in a traumatic place like an Israeli prison. So what can we do? As an international community, there is a lot we can do. Israel will keep doing what it's doing. The international community needs to put pressure on Israel to stop this violation. That's something the international community must do, but what the international community has been doing in the past is not enough. Condemnation on its own is not enough. If we take the recent example of Russia and how the world reacted with Russia and how the world reacts with Israel is a very different equation, isn't it? So the international community needs to stop being a joke, needs to actually act. Because in the past 100 years, this could have been stopped. But we will continue to see the suffering and the killing and the demolition of human life in Bayt al-Maqdis and in Palestine until the international community takes a serious role in what it's meant to be within the world. Media and journalists, they do have an important job. I think without the media, we wouldn't really know, we wouldn't have a picture of what is happening. Yet within the 21st century, news is different than 10 years ago and 20 years ago. You're all young generation. News is not, we don't have to put the TV on and put on, the national channels to watch what is happening. We have people who have, Instagram accounts and Facebook, and they have, you know, live coverage of what is happening. In fact, this is how I follow what happens in Al-Aqsa Mosque and Bayt al-Maqdis. This is how I follow it. Because if I'm going to wait and watch the BBC, my blood will boil. And that's been the case for years. Biased media and biased journalists, they are part of the problem. So of course it is important that we have free media and journalists who are able to convey what is happening in an unbiased way. And it also means that even as youngsters, I know we record what is happening on our phones and so on, and you are able to pass on, be part of that kind of news, news round, news coverage, that when you pass on information, make sure you're not passing information that is a propaganda for Israel. Make sure that you check your sources. The minute you Google anything, if you Google now Al-Aqsa Mosque, Wikipedia will come up, you will see the Temple Mount, already the clash of terminologies, the narrative, the false narrative that we have today. So journalists and media have a huge role, but we have also a role to play. I think there was the last part, to understand the oppression. I don't if there was a final point, or I think I may have answered that. Okay, inshallah.
Thank you, Sarah. Any other questions from the floor?
Yes, I'm here. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurfarha Amira. I'm sorry, Miss. We know that Palestine issues already happened for a long time ago. So can I ask you a simple question? As a student from Malaysia, and what actually kind of help that we can do for Palestine from here right now? That's all from me. Thank you.
It's a simple question, yet a very important question. What can we do today? So we spoke about what we can do as teachers. What can we do as Malaysians in Malaysia? As a person, yes? And apart, I think knowledge is one of the key factors that we can do today. To educate yourself. Educate yourself on Bayt al-Maqdis and Al-Aqsa Mosque. Also, I think, taking an example from the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him. How, if you think about the time of the Prophet, the companions were living at a very similar time as us today. You know, with the rise of Islamophobia, all these issues that Muslims have to deal with. Muslims in Mecca, do you think they were living a very harmonious life when they converted to this faith, when they believed in this faith? Of course not. We know in the Seerah that, the companions were being tortured and persecuted day in, day out. It was a very, very difficult time for the Muslims. Yet they were able to hold strength, to find strength, and yet the issue of Bayt al-Maqdis was still a priority for them. So imagine their local situation, their situation locally in Mecca was very difficult. They were facing persecution, boycott of the Muslims for 3 years. Nobody wanted anything to do with the Muslims, yet the Muslims had a plan for Bayt al-Maqdis. The companions were still asking questions to the Prophet. They wanted to learn. So we have the example for the Sahabi, Abu Dharr al-Ghafari. Through him we know, because he went to ask the Prophet, to ask him, what was the first mosque that was built on earth? Okay, so what was the second mosque? And how many years in between? Through that hadith, we know this information. So we can start asking, finding information. The Prophet managed to connect the companions' hearts and minds with Bayt al-Maqdis through prayer. So when you pray, make prayer to Al-Aqsa. Make prayer that we pray inside Al-Aqsa when it's liberated. Make it part of your life. Don't make it on the periphery. If we see something in the news, we cry and then that's it. Your job, especially as a Muslim, is a huge one. Because this issue is yours as much as it is mine. We said this issue is not a Palestinian issue. This issue is a Muslim issue and a human issue. So you can connect yourself to that place with your salah, with your dua, learning, because you can do all of that, but then you don't have the knowledge. So you need to start educating yourself. Start reading about the stories of the prophets, how they were connected to that region. Start reading about leaders who gave all of their life for this region. If it wasn't important, why would they do that? Why would the Muslims leave Mecca and Medina to go to Bayt al-Maqdis? Why? Why put yourself in that hardship if it wasn't important for you as a Muslim? The Muslims at the time of the Prophet, after they were prepared spiritually, religiously, politically, then they had the military plan. So many battles, the Battle of Mu'tah, read about it, the Battle of Mu'tah, the Battle of Tabuk. The youngest leader who was made to be the leader of one of the Muslims' armies that headed towards the conquest of Bayt al-Maqdis, his name was Usama ibn Zayd. Have you heard of him before? Yes? Do you know how old he was when he became the leader of that army? How old are you today? Are you 22, 20, or 19? MashaAllah, 20. So Usama ibn Zayd was 21 when he was the leader of an army headed towards facing the Romans, the Byzantine Empire. So let's stop belittling what we can do. We are capable of so much. In Malaysia, you can be supporting your brothers and sisters in Bayt al-Maqdis. You can be supporting this dissemination of knowledge through many ways. Be ready. Are you ready to be a leader for this cause? You need to unshackle these chains that we chain ourselves and we think we can't. Who are we? I'm only training to be a teacher. Only training to be a teacher? You have the answer right in your hand. Also educating people that you know, disseminating that knowledge to friends, family, within the community, making the issue of Bayt al-Maqdis number one in Malaysia. Can you do that as teachers? Can you do that as humans, as productive individuals? Honestly, there is no time in life that you are the most productive as your age just now. We get older, we have more responsibility, we need help sometimes in doing different things. But you at this age, you are capable of the impossible. When people tell you, you're only one person in Malaysia, what can you do for this issue that's been going on for 100 years? You can do a lot if you put your mind to it. Boycott, that's a big thing. That's another thing everyone can do. Boycott Israeli goods, Israeli academics. In every aspect in society, we can boycott Israel. We need to put pressure on this occupation. It is time that we end this occupation, but this occupation will prosper if we don't all make it our number one priority. In Malaysia, in Indonesia, Singapore, Iraq, in every place in the world, it has to be our number one.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, Puan Ubaida. Microphone, please.
Yes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Adding to the answer that Sarah have given to you just now. Okay, I think I address in Malay. How can we do, bagaimana untuk kita nak melibatkan diri sekarang? Okey. Sebabkan soalan itulah ditimbulkan insya-Allah. Antaranya ialah kami ni daripada Haluan dan KTD, okey, menjemput semua bakal-bakal guru ni untuk mengikuti program kita panggil Basic for Educator yang akan kita laksanakan mulai besok 8 hari bulan hingga 10 hari bulan. Okey, apakah program Basic Educator ini? Basic to Stands Baitul Maqdis Studies Intensive Camp. Sebab kita this is the second year we did it. But educator is the first time we are introduced. Kali pertama kita memperkenalkan educators ni untuk apa? Supaya kita dapat menyemai kecintaan dan kefahaman kita terhadap Baitul Maqdis ini dari kecil. Okey, macam mana orang Zionis tu dia bagi kefahaman tentang kepentingan Yahudi tu daripada kecil, kita pun nak kena semai daripada kecil. Dan bagaimana caranya sebagai seorang guru. Sebab itulah kita ada Puan Sarah kat sini. InsyaAllah Puan Sarah will conduct the 3 days intensive hands-on punya training. Okey, bagaimana insya-Allah kita sebagai pendidik, sebagai guru, sebagai bakal ibu bapa, okey, untuk kita menyemaikan kefahaman, kecintaan, pengetahuan tentang Baitul Maqdis ini kepada anak-anak kita, generasi kita yang akan datang dan sebagainya. Jadi jangan lepaskan peluang ini. Sayang Puan Sarah datang jauh-jauh daripada UK, insya-Allah untuk berkongsi. Benda ni semua nanti hands on, is going to be fun insya-Allah. Dan bolehlah insya-Allah nanti melalui Ustaz Lokman you can register, okay, ataupun IPG nak sponsor a few of you to attend to this particular program insya-Allah. Okay, that's the additional information that I can give you. Assalamualaikum. Hope to see you tomorrow insya-Allah.
That's amazing. You know, I completely forgot. And this is what we are going to start tomorrow for 3 days. Thank you so much for bringing that up, because I think this is how we can do our job practically. So for the next 3 days from tomorrow to Sunday, and actually we travel back on Sunday just after the program is finished. The idea is now we have a curriculum for children, not in Arabic, not in English, but in Malay. And I have to say a big thank you to Professor Rasmi and Professor Ashnida for translating this curriculum so that it is, you know, when we say we don't know where to start, where is that knowledge? We have that curriculum for children, we call it the Future Leaders Curriculum on Bait al-Maqdis. So it's a very much hands-on 3 days. We go through different lessons. So I know I've been sitting, I'm so not used to sitting for like an hour or two saying a lecture, because with children, I'm dancing, I'm singing, we're doing storytelling, and I'm sure these are different approaches and strategies that you are learning here at college. So we will be demonstrating how we can teach children about Bait al-Maqdis and Al-Aqsa Mosque, because you think, how can we teach children that? It is so fun. We have been doing it for a few years in the UK, in different countries, using this curriculum to bring the stories of the prophets. So we cover Prophet Adam, Prophet Ibrahim, Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. We cover 5 prophets, and also we cover what is Al-Aqsa Mosque. I know we talk about it, but sometimes we don't even know what exactly is Al-Aqsa Mosque. So we cover that in very much fun, interactive methods. And our aim is to train the educators. So people like you who will soon be out there teaching children. Because I'm sure no child in 2023 wants to sit down and hear you say a story. Okay, let me tell you a story about Prophet. And just like that. Yes? So you know your job is never going to be sitting on chairs. Do you know that? Yes? You're not going to be sitting behind a desk and be like, right, copy that from the board. That used to happen in our maybe education. But your job is so exciting. Being a teacher is very exciting. So please, if you are able to join us on any of the 3 days, we will start by introducing tomorrow from the morning the curriculum, and then start all the lessons with teaching strategies and hands-on activities. If you can speak to the director and sister as well to see if you are able to join, we would love to have you all join us, and this would be our part to try and to disseminate that knowledge, make your life easier. Because, you know, teaching is not necessarily just when you're in a classroom. You can be involved in teaching in different things, maybe different clubs, in community centers, in mosques. So please use this as an opportunity. It's the first time we're holding it here in Malaysia, and I hope to see some of you there.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Yes, question?
Ya. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum to Madam Hana and Madam Sarah. My name is Fazlin. And first, I would like to apologize if my question is kind of out of context. So as Madam Sarah said earlier, you have an experience with Israel soldiers checking everything. And you thought that was normal because you were born and having surrounding like that. So my question is, at what point do Palestinian children realize that it was not okay and it was against the human rights for Israel soldiers to do that? Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's such an important question, and maybe a difficult one to answer, because I think when you're a child, you're born into if you're born into, say, a war or a certain situation, you're automatically on that fight mode, survival mode, trying to survive the situation that you are in. You see in your family how you are dealing with the occupation and the situation that you are in. I remember when I was young, sleeping in the middle of the night, Israeli soldiers would come and barge the door with their big boots on the door. And I remember even the second day going to see the mark that it has left on our metal door. Very frightening, completely frightening. From a young age, you're asleep and this is happening to you. You quickly take strength from your parents and your community. And you know, your parents, that's their job to reassure you it's okay, you will be fine. So you know that this is wrong. Do you know how to deal with it? You try, you know, with your parents, with your siblings, to just get along. There is fear. But people who are living under occupation, who are living in that state, I think God blesses them with a strength to deal with the situation at that time. You know, in our schools in the UK, we talk to children a lot about mental health. Maybe this is also an issue that is talked about at college and schools in Malaysia. It's focused on a lot. The welfare of children is essential. Children in Palestine, in Bayt al-Maqdis, they don't have that privilege. And believe me when I say they go through situations you and I will never go through. People in Gaza, and you know, this is also part of the problem, how they divide even the different locations, the different cities within Palestine, so that people in Palestine and Bayt al-Maqdis cannot even have that connection, have that support from each other. Gaza, year in, year out, there's a war. There are traumatic stories that come out that even us living here, we're not able to comprehend the stories that come out. I once asked a friend who came and studied in Birmingham. She is from Gaza. She went back to Gaza, and I asked her, we want, is it possible to arrange maybe, like we have a story time that we are doing with children online in the UK, and I wonder if it's possible to maybe speak to a child from Gaza. And you know what she told me, and I think this is something that really hit me hard. She said, children here are dealing with their trauma, Sarah. And you are wanting me to ask a child who has maybe lost their mom, their entire family, to come and be able to speak to you? So I think realizing that the life they have is very different to the privileges we have here today. So this is why when we talk about things like human rights, this is our job to speak about these issues. They have the occupation and the death of family members and all this agony that they have to live with day in, day out. What is our job to support them? What is our job to help them? People who go through trauma in life, it takes them years to come out of it. People in Bayt al-Maqdis are still going through it. And it's a generation cycle. And it will continue if we don't do our job. You know, sometimes when you go and attend lectures, I don't enjoy theoretical, speech and lectures. And that's why I always, when I say a point, I always I always link it with an action that you can do, that I can do, that we can do together. So it's amazing that we are able to think about our brothers and sisters in Bayt al-Maqdis. But again, even that question, we need to think, how can we support and how we can help?
All right, thank you so much. I think we have come to the time that we need to end this discourse, intellectual discourse. So to sum up, all right, Sarah has talked about the importance of education, the importance of reforming the education, and then our roles, okay, as Muslims and as a part of the world. Okay, so we need to educate our children. We need to educate ourselves first and our children about the rights from wrongs and include Palestine in our prayers every day. Okay, and Allah will not ask us what have we achieved at the end of the day, but Allah will ask us what have we done. All right, so our prayer and a little contribution that we could afford to contribute through NGOs in Malaysia in the supports of the Palestinian people. So we could do that as well. All right. So before we end, probably Sarah, you need to say something to end.
It's been an absolute privilege being here today. Honestly, I feel such an honor and pride sitting with you today, thinking that you will be in a few years' time teaching our children. I hope that maybe some of the questions, some of the topics that we spoke about may get you, get that thinking hat on, get that thinking, those questions, for you to start questioning what I can do, what can I do to support Bayt al-Maqdis? Every one of us here today can do something. At the university level, there is a lot we can do. We can start teaching this as a field of inquiry. MashaAllah, already in Malaysia, we have 2 universities that teach Bayt al-Maqdis studies as a postgraduate, masters and PhDs. So maybe this is something that would interest you. But also as teachers. And we spoke a lot about what we can do and how important education is. Following on from the responsibility that you've just mentioned, God says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. That God will not change a state of the ummah, state of the nation, until they change within themselves. We can always make prayer and dua and say, oh Allah, help us free Bayt al-Maqdis and Al-Aqsa Mosque. But if we don't take action, if we don't start that change within ourselves, then we are still living in that cycle of blame and just wait for a miracle. This needs more than a miracle. This needs the miracle of all of your hard work, of all of your contribution. So please leave today with one question in mind. How can I support Bayt al-Maqdis? Don't make this a talk that you've listened to and you've enjoyed being here. I was so mesmerized by, mashallah, like the 3 languages, the talents that you have here. It felt amazing being here. So you are capable of so much. Don't put limits to what you can do. The solution is in your hand as an educator and a teacher. And I pray that we are united in Al-Aqsa Mosque, in a liberated Al-Aqsa Mosque soon, and that we are there with our Muslim brothers and our Christian brothers, standing in that region, finally saying that we did something. And we can't believe that the solution was in knowledge, not even in politics. So let's pray that this day comes, and I hope to meet all of you soon. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure being with all of you.
Terima kasih diucapkan kepada Puan Sarah El-Awaisi dan Puan Nurhana binti Hussein atas perkongsian ilmu yang begitu bermanfaat sebentar tadi.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Sarah Al-Awaisi and Madam Nurhana binti Hussein. Testing. Okay. Thank you, Madam Sarah Al-Awaisi and Madam Nurhana binti Hussein for today's sharing. May Allah bless us all with knowledge and wisdom for today's intellectual discourse.
شكرا على المعرفة المفيدة منذ قليل. نسأل الله أن يرزقنا جميعا العلم والحكمة معا.
Hadirin sekalian, dengan ini majlis menjemput yang berbahagia Puan Haja Nur Asilah binti Osman dan Profesor Dr. Rasmi binti Abdullah untuk naik ke pentas bagi sesi penyampaian cenderamata. Dipersilakan.
Next, we would like to invite Madam Hajah Nur Asilah binti Osman and Professor Dr. Rasmi binti Abdullah to come up to the stage to present a token of appreciation to Professor Dr. Rasmi, Madam Sarah Al-Awaisi and Madam Nurhana.
أما الآن فلنتفضل المحترمة سيدة حاجة نور أصيلة بنت عثمان رئيسة معهد تربية المعلمين فرعي اللغة الملايوية بمنها الذكريات المحترمة سيدة دكتورة رسني بنت عبد الله والمحترمة السيدة سارة العويسي والمحترمة السيدة نور الهنا بنت حسين.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Alif Nasi. I'm from Gombak, Selangor, Malaysia. This video is dedicated.
Terima kasih diucapkan kepada Puan Hajar Asilah atas kesudian untuk menyampaikan cenderamata kepada tetamu-tamu jemputan sebentar tadi.
Thank you, Madam Hajah Nur Asilah binti Osman, for presenting the token of appreciation to our speakers.
شكرا للمحترمة سيدة حاجة نور أسلام بنت عثمان لاستعدادها على منح ذكريات منذ قليل.
Buat pengetahuan hadirin dan hadirat sekalian, hadirin dapat mengikuti halaman Aqsa for Kids dan Haluan Malaysia dalam pelantar Instagram untuk mengetahui tentang info lebih lanjut. Dengan berakhirnya sesi penyampaian cenderamata sebentar tadi, maka berakhirlah sudah majlis bicara intelektual kita pada hari ini.
Thank you everyone for your presence. We apologize for any shortcomings occurred throughout our program today. May Allah bless us all.
نختتم هذا الحديث الفكري للعالم الإسلامي بتسبيح الكفارة وسورة العصر.
Sekian.
Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.